Well, good morning, everybody. Haven't seen any videos for a while, I know. Just wasn't feeling great. So yesterday, good friend of mine helped me get this in the shop. As you can see, there's a few small oil leaks in the rear end that are always there. Nothing major. And I was going to take and loosen up the oil pan drain. And you can see there's oil that dripped out down there. And I don't know whether or not it came out of the petcock. Oh, that petcock got hit open. That may be where it came from. Maybe I better check here. Yeah, it looks to me like it might have been weeping out of there, huh? But I'm not positive either. Quite a lot of oil on the... But that's over here. That would have been down there. And instead, it looks like it might have been coming down around. Let's see what we got for oil here. Yeah, it's still at the low mark. I'm sure there's none on the high mark because, like I say, it was open. Yeah, there is still stuff there. So it was just drooling out of that ever so slightly. So anyway, I guess I will crack that. And I'll put a wrench onto it. Make sure there's no water in it. It's been sitting out all winter. And I really doubt if there's any juice in that old battery. But we'll just do a quick check. I'll leave the switch off. Oh. Would you look at that? Wow, I can't believe that thing sat out there all winter and didn't freeze or nothing. Huh. I think what I'll do, I'm going to shut you guys off. And this, I believe, is a 1952 Super C. But I'm going to get me a short extension cord. I'll get this charger on just to give it a little more. And I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, so it doesn't look like I'm going to have to do that much to get the old girl going. Put some water in it. I don't know. There is carburetor. There's gasoline in the fuel tank. And I don't believe I shut the gas off. It's probably still full, which is how I like to leave them. Hang on. Yeah, so I don't know where I was at, but I was just telling you where this thing came from. I don't think it's going to take much to get it running. But as you can see, this has been massaged quite heavily down here. And these front grill pieces, the slats, are all been bent up. So when my father bought this, he bought this, I'm going to guess, in 1967, I believe it was. I think that's when the bill of sales is. It might have been, yeah, I think it was 67. I got the bill of sales for it when my father bought it. So he bought it off of, it's kind of an interesting story. My great-grandfather on my father's side, on his mother's side, he was Warren Flagg, and he had a firewood business. And he worked with horses. And the first thing he ever bought for a tractor was this old girl, 1952. And the wood splitter I have, which there's some videos, if you go back far enough, of the Clark wood splitter. And the saw rig that's on that, he ran with this for quite a while, but before that he ran it on a commercial firewood operation. And this over at my father's is the old ring chains. He had bought these weird ring chains, just round lengths. And they just kind of, we've had them on it before in the wintertime. That's all they used to pull firewood with. And they used it just like a tool. They didn't think nothing of it. And this front end was all stove up and it was in rough shape. So my father buys it. My father's pretty tight. He don't like to fix nothing up. So it just set the way it was for a lot of years. We used it all the time. We did rebuild the motor. I rebuilt the motor on it in 1980. And then for about probably 15 years after that, maybe 12 years after that, all summer long, I hayed for a living. And cut a lot of hay. Cut hay all through Naples, bunch down in Casco. Didn't do much in Bridgeton, but close to Bridgeton. Anyway, and the old girl got a lot of time on it, but it runs good. And original plows that came with it, I forget what models they are, but it's a right and a left. I do need to find what type of, moldboards and plowshares and whatnot, because the points are getting pretty well gone. They do plow all right, but it's like all of them that you ever see. They never exactly hang perfect. They're always one a little different than the other. And there's always one that, goes in the ground a little better. And I'm sure that if I wanted to, and I frigged around with it enough, you could probably adjust some of this stuff from one side to the other, and I don't know. There's got to be a way to adjust that stuff so it work a little more even, but then again, there may not be. But anyway, yeah, so the old girl's had a rough life, a real rough life. And so that battery's charger has been on 6 volt for 5 minutes, and I don't think that battery is down. She's sitting right there pinned. And unless one of those connections isn't making a connection. That one seems to not be changing. I've got that shined down into lead. Yeah, it's not changing a bit on that. So, I tell you how you can tell if it's working. Oh yeah, but on 12 she's working. So yeah, apparently it held a charge through the winter, and that kind of makes me happy. I am going to put a piece of angle iron on down here just to hold that from working over, because I have to keep hitting it with my foot to keep this from hitting on the control rod. So it should have a box like they're supposed to have, but it's never had one since we've owned it. And it is what it is. So yeah, let me go get a wrench. We'll see if there's any water in that oil pan. Well, this here I think probably is supposed to be 1 1/16", but it's a stove up from pipe wrenches from back before we owned it that takes 1 1/8" on it. And I did change out a couple of the old spikes. Them things kept sticking me in the arm and stuff when I was looking stuff over. So, yeah. Probably gonna need a new gasket for this, but I ain't gonna put it on today because it may not even have one. But we'll get this down where we can see if there's any water in it. Oh, it's just oil. That's a good thing. Yeah, just oil. So, yeah, there's no gasket on that like there's supposed to be. That's why it drips all the time. But I would suspect that where that was leaking there, that we wouldn't have no oil in the top petcock. And where we did, then I suspected if it was leaking all winter, there was a little something wrong there. Maybe water in the base, but there isn't. So yeah, this whole thing is right full of the greatest cotter pins ever. There's one there upside down nail. I mean, this thing will stab you or bleed you about any way you can get around it. Because, like I say, my father never wanted to put no money into nothing. But anyway, we're going to change out those nails. Make it a little safer to work around. These are a little longer than I'd like. I may actually shorten them a little bit and get them up to where they don't tear you open. And I think I'm actually going to round the ends a little bit. I'm going to make them a little more user-friendly here, because the older you get, the easier you bleed. So anyway, we'll be back in a minute. So that's what I started with. That's what I ended up with. I rounded the ends over so they won't draw blood when you go across them with your arm. And the only problem is you got to spread them, to do the grinding. So now you got to use a pair of pliers. and get them started that way. But that's no big deal. That should, with just a small amount of, you know, tap on that long leg, I guess I'll actually turn it the other way. Get it back up here where you can do a rotation with it. There we go. Put her in that way. And then, yeah, as if I'm going to do it with those pliers. Yeah, I guess I did a little bit. That'll keep it from coming out. Yeah. Tap it with a hammer up and it'll slide it out. So, yeah. That's one side fixed. A little bit safer. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Same thing down here. You know, you're always catching them things on your shoes and legs and different stuff. Nothing safe about nails. And I'm not saying that you can't use them. I've used them my whole life. But, like I say, the older I get, the more I'd rather do it right. And I got the stuff to do it with. You know, it's not like I'm completely broke. Just halfway. But, yeah, I'm going to take that battery charger, I think, right off. That's a pretty good deal. And as soon as I get these done, I'll bring you back and we'll get into the distributor, see what's in there for corrosion. Just a little footnote, you know, I'm going to get this running and use it. But it's a far cry from being really what you call fit to use. I mean, this is original wiring loom. Open wires right there. Bare wires back there. I've never changed a lot of these wires. They're just kind of whatever they are. I got bare wires a lot of places. This is in the heavy loom, the original stuff. So far so good. I don't think it's chafed through anywhere. And over here, a couple years ago, when my father gave me the tractor, this is just black tape over a couple of new wires. So I got this here is all, you know, been replaced. So it's kind of sketchy. I did drive it in here last night. I would not put it in the barn for the winter and leave the battery hooked up to it, you know. I mean, it's kind of sketchy at best, but we're going to get it going. We're going to work with it. And anyway, I just wanted to show you that wiring. One more project on the list. So anyway, I'll bring you back in a little bit. So I got some of the cotter pins changed out. Got some battery brackets on, just enough to keep it so it don't short out on nothing. It's better than what it ever had when I was a kid. I remember for years, I'd ride along and I'd have to get off the seat and hit that with my leg, you know, with my foot, drive it back over, because if you didn't, it would short out eventually over here, shut down the tractor. So anyway, yeah, I got the switch working pretty good, and you watch the amp gauge, you notice it's moving. That tells me that that points are conducting electricity, which means they're not tarnished over too bad. So I haven't taken it apart. When I saw that it was working, I'm actually going to pull the choke and we're going to see if this old girl will start, because it's got fuel in it. And let's see what we can do. Let's see, pull the choke a little bit, pull the switch, see what happens here. Oil pressure. Charging system's working. So now all I got left to do, I got a couple of cotter pins down there I'm going to show you before I take them out. They're just kind of, you know, they are stove up. I replaced that one there. I haven't bent it back yet, but I got to do some air in the tires. For those of you folks that have tractors, just set them in barns and forget about them. Don't keep the air pressure up. This is what happens. This is a brand new tire. You know, it's probably got 700-800 hours running time on it, but I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. And my father didn't keep the air pressure up in it, you know. That's where she sat right there, right flat on a turd for, you know, 10, 15 years. You see the line right in the concrete. So I blew it out and it's holding air. You know, that was a lot of years of neglect that caused that. And anyway, so I'm gonna blow the tires up. I would love to find another one of these. This is an actual Firestone. What the heck is it? A 10 by 36, I believe it is. No, 11.2 by 36. But these were bought years and years ago. Like back in 1979 or 80. This had the tire on this, no, the tire on that side went to hell because it had patches bolted into it when my father bought it, because from working in the woods. And he bought a set of tires for it, and he put that tire on brand new, never put the other tire on, left it in the barn, and it sat up in the barn for about 40 years. And of course, when I got it, this tire was junk. So we replaced this tire with the one that was in the barn. But yeah, I wished I had another Firestone to go with it. I hate mismatched tires, guys. But I don't know if you can still buy this. So anyway, I'm gonna do some blowing up of the tires. And I wanted to show you these old cotter pins driven in here. You know, so, and that's got a lot of, man, that was a good quality cotter pin this day. But I got to loosen this up, flip that open, get this so I can get a cotter pin on it. And this here is only 1/2 of a cotter pin. I might even take that right off and massage it a little bit on the anvil, get things straightened out like they belong. And this stuff gets bent a lot when you whipping right along, stuff's a little loose, and you snag a rock hard. There's wicked pressure on that. But anyway, yeah, I'll bring you back here when we get ready to go on out and go plowing. Well, everybody, we had a problem here with the starter. You probably heard it didn't really start into the ring gear good. So I took everything apart. This is the one out of the Super C that I just took off. And everything's there that was there when I took it off. You notice the thrust washer? It doesn't have a thrust washer there. As soon as I took it apart, and it would chunk back and forth. Thrust washers up front. Thrust washers up front. So these are identical. They're 10 teeth about on both of them. So they're the same drive. Same length armature, right to the, 16th of an inch. I mean, they're exact. And everything will interchange. I have to use this casing for the Super C because of the starter solenoid, or the switch here. Those there use a solenoid somewhere, or another switch that's remote, I guess I should say. So they're clocked different. So this is the old snout off the Super C. You can see that it's been brazed up there. The bushing is good on it, but it's got a braze repair. And I could use it over. But the one for the H has an extra support in the middle. Makes it a little stronger, keeps stuff where it belongs. Keeps the mice residue, which I'm going to show you this one. You can see it's got a lot of mouse residue in it I got to blow out. Clean up. Not the greatest thing ever, so I'll clean that up. And these two screws here go in these holes, which those, it doesn't matter where they're at, because you're just catching the outside of this. But these two holes in this clocking hole have to be in the right orientation. So I got to put this snout in the milling machine. And if I'm off 1/8 of an inch either side, clocking it, it's going to be fine. But I got to move this hole basically 180 degrees over to here. And then these have to move just a little bit. And then I can use the back on the Super C. I'll use all of this, because this seems to be in good shape other than the fact it's dirty. Both of them, other than this one not being put together right. I don't know who rebuilt it. I got a suspicion, but I'm not going to say nothing because I don't know for a fact. So I know my father had it rebuilt back when I was in West Virginia, I think it was, and it's never really started good since. So I can see why. Whoever it was left out these washers. So we're going to use this H starter. We're going to marry it with some of the Super C starter parts. And we're going to have a good starter here because this snout has never been repaired. And the bushing is good. So, but it's dirty. I got to clean it up. So I'll bring you back. I'm not gonna, when I get it set up in the milling machine, I'll bring you back. Yeah, we were just looking here. We're doing quarter 20 right there. Number 8 drill. Got a number 8 drill. It's 199 thousandths. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead, run this in the collet, and see what we can do here. But I'm gonna shut you off because, yeah, get that thing into the middle. There we go. I gotta go up and start the phase converter. Okay, I'm just gonna eyeball this. You know, those things, if you're within 1/16 of an inch there, I think they're not gonna have too much of a trouble. Yeah, maybe, I think that's about right there. Maybe back just a skosh. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah. Beautiful. Now we get a quarter 20 tap. I'm running out of places to pile stuff. Right there's one. Pretty sure that should clear down through there. Whoop. Put that in low. See if I'm out through yet. A little further. Beautiful. One down, one to go. I just marked this out with a set of calipers by eye, and I'm hoping I'm going to be close enough. Yeah, looks good. Put that in reverse. Boy, gotta love tapping cast iron. Nice stuff to work with. Now, I didn't even check. If I drill, oh, that's the exact same size. They were smart. They use the same drill to drill them all. So, yeah. Now this new index and pin needs to go over here. I'm gonna be pretty close to cutting through the outer wall, but Yeah. Boy, I might be another 10 thousandths closer. I'll go see if it'll fit. Actually, I should turn on my, yeah, the damn stuff ain't plugged in. Okay, clear, there we go. Set everything to 0. Now I can get that out of the way and we will check the fit. Okay, so I was off just a skosh. For some reason it won't let it drop down over here where it wants to be. I'm going to just go, this is 10 thousandths bigger drill. Still a number drill. I'm going to bring this back to 0, 0. Just going to run it down through, give it a little room. And beautiful right there. See here how it looks now. Yeah, so it seems to fit. Just a little tiny bit of clearance, which is fine. And if you look at it, this right here is the bolt line. That bolt should be right about where my thumb is. Yeah, looks good to me. So, I think we're right on the money. I'm going to wash this snout out, put some grease up here in the nose. This will be our new snout. Anyway, I'm going to bring you back here when I get it cleaned up. So I'm getting ready to put this back together. I just wanted to explain something. This is one of the locks right here, and they are hardened. They bend up one time. They don't get reused. They just break off when you try to straighten them. So whatever you've got here is whatever you've got. You can't reuse those. So I put a small amount of grease on here. Not on this end yet because I'm not ready to put that end in. But I'm going to put the snout on here, put them 2 screws in, and we'll be kind of on our way here. This drive in this particular starter was way better condition than the other one, which if you don't have any thrust settings working, I suppose it's pretty hard work to keep one of them drives in good shape. So yeah, that'll just set like so. Those go in like so. Now the Super C didn't have this particular piece at all. And whether or not just the heavier tractors did, you know, I'm not a starter expert. But I do know that we can make a good starter for the Super C out of this mess. And hopefully it'll work correctly. There we go. Get stuff to set in a little bit. Yep. Shouldn't tip the starter out, the screwdriver out of the way there. Should have just kept it straight, but I was afraid of getting into the electrical stuff here. Trying to be careful of it. There we go. It's all seated good. Beautiful. Now that has a little bit of thrust in it. But this doesn't set your thrust. This bushing out here and this washer right here will set my thrust. So I'm going to grease this now and we'll slide this mess on over it. What I did to get this on, I just kept pulling the brushes out one at a time till it finally dropped. And there may be more correct ways to do it, but that's how I did it and it worked. And it seems to be indexed right. The rods seem to go in clear. We'll see what our thrust is like here in just a second. Because that was our main problem before. Nah, come on. That thing, there we go. Alright. So, let me get you guys off the stand here so I can hold it a little bit better. So, looking down in there, get this thing so I can see it. You look at the armature there. That's probably what, maybe 40 thousandths clearance. And the end of the shaft is right at the end of the housing. The other one was sticking out almost 3/16 of an inch because all this material here wasn't there. And that inside support wasn't there. So this is a much better starter now. I'm going to put the band onto it, and which is sitting right there. And we'll be able to put this old girl back on. So I kept trying to put this on and it kept hitting on something. I finally painted it green. And no, I don't think it'll fight with a red tractor, but you can see this black spot right here. And you can almost see where the casting's high. So I'm going to grind that area right there, about a 1/16 off it, and she'll fit just as good as gold. Okay, I got this thing all on. I took a feeler gauge. Everything's tight now. Got the battery hooked back up. I am going to need another cotter pin in the back of that, but let's see what happens. Little choke. That sounded real good. Didn't make no banging, crashing. So yeah, so that's a win. It was hitting on the back side of that snout. There's a heavy casting boss runs right in through here, and it was just touching it right in here. Not by a lot either, probably 30 thousandths, but when I was putting the bolts up, I could tell I was at a gap here when it was starting to compress the lock washer. And I didn't want to keep forcing stuff. That's how you break these cones. So anyway, it's clocked right. Everything's up where it belongs. So yeah, I'm going to get it ready for plowing. That'll be all on this video. Anyway, I'm going to do the greasing, and when I get the plowing out, I'll have another chip and another battery. And we'll go from there. So a little news for the channel. We hit 1,000 subscribers yesterday. This morning there was 1,002. So we're gaining 1 or 2 a day. For everybody that subscribed, I thank you very much. Appreciate it. I really do. It's kind of a fun milestone to get over. And anyway, so we're going to continue playing, and I'll bring you along. Hope you have a great day, everybody.